Welcome to episode 194 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is here. How are you, Warren?
I'm here. Sounds good. It's been, feels like it, I don't know, it just it feels like a long time and then not a long time with you, but Kelly's here and I'm here, so that's, we got that. So there we go.
Well, speaking of that, Kelly Kamat's back on the show. Great to have you back here, Kelly. How you doing?
I'm not too bad, actually. How about you, David?
Doing well. I know you got an exciting announcement you're going to make of a new site that you've started. We'll hear about that in a little bit. Andrew Orr, welcome back to the show. 2 weeks in a row, and he was having internet problems. Thanks for being here. So we got a lot to talk about this week. Apple had this thing called an event. It was fun, and it was peak performance, and we'll get into some of the iOS angles to what they announced this past week. But before we start with the news here, I wanted to call this out. And Kelly, why don't you just go ahead and let everybody know about helping the folks in Ukraine that's been we're having trouble there, obviously, with the war going on there, and there are some places you can help the developers by donations, right?
Yeah. So there's been a few stories in general about what people are doing in order to help people out, like go book an Airbnb in the Ukraine, even though you're not going and staying there, because Airbnb is waiving all the fees. So you can go book somebody's Airbnb in the Ukraine, and the money goes all directly to that person. Airbnb is taking no cut of any of that. So that's like a really direct donation at this point. People are buying from Ukrainian craft stores on Etsy, like digital downloads and stuff. So there's no shipping for anybody to worry about, and also doing it that way. And then as a person who's been covering Apple for a really long time, I've been to lots of conferences and met tons of people. And some of the people I met were developers from Ukraine, and all of the folks that I ever met from there were always really friendly and really loved what they were doing. And so there's a few people that have taken some action. So Unclutter is a really nifty utility if you don't have it already. And if you have your own, you can go name your price for a license that you can give to anyone you wish over at the Unclutter site. And I know David will have a link for that in the show notes. It's a clipboard manager, and it helps you keep, from having like the pile of stuff on your desktop screen all the time. So that's a really great app. MacPaw, who makes SetApp and Clean My Mac and a bunch of other apps. Their CEO posted an update on their website that was sort of two pieces. It was first how they are doing and how their business is surviving through all of this. And then additionally, the things that MacPaw is doing to help other people who are also in Ukraine, which I thought was really astounding. Like, on top of trying to do everything they can to take care of themselves, they're trying to take care of other people who are there with them too. And so he also has a list of places from right there on the ground that here are places you can donate to. Here are legitimate information sources that are covering what's happening on the ground here. And if you go to the iOS App Store or to the News app, or even just apple.com, which you may want to do when we're done telling you about the event, there's a banner on the top of each of those with a link to donate to UNICEF, which is helping with relief efforts there as well. So
looks like you've got some great links that's on your page there. So we'll leave that link to the show notes. But yeah, give them some support. They really need it. We really appreciate it. Unless you had something else to add. Okay.
Just to point out that Riddle is another company in Ukraine. They make the Spark email app, and they make a lot of other sort of Office-y productivity tools for mobile devices. And they were one of the first to have a tool that would allow you to mark up a PDF or even create a PDF. And Riddle's there as well. And so they're another one. I haven't heard from any of them directly, like I have from MacPaw and from Unclutter, but they're another one that I know pretty well, and I'm just sort of sad for all of them, and glad to help out wherever I can. And the thing that I can do is help make sure that other people know where they can get good information and where they can give if they are so inclined.
Did you see the developer in his bathtub? Yeah, because the bombs were outside. So his Ukrainian developer, literally just working in his bathtub with his laptop because it was a safe place to be. So
my friend Eugene from Unclutter, he lives next door to that building. Initially, when we saw the pictures of the apartment building that had been shelled, he lives next door to that building.
Yeah.
So and the last I heard from him, he was doing okay. So
that's good.
That's
great to hear. Well, our hearts go out to all the people of Ukraine, and hope they get through all this craziness here. Riedel does. If you look at the icons on PDF Expert and Scanner Pro of the two I have, they put the Ukrainian flag on the corner of their app icon, which is pretty cool to
set up.
And then set up has it on the Mac right now. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
on the top.
All right. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Kelly. We appreciate it. And I know the people in Ukraine and the developers appreciate that too. Let's go on and talk about some of the news for this week. First story I had here. This was this was a story about Peloton. Peloton is now going to let you use Apple Watch as a heart rate monitor. No GymKit required. Peloton is rolling out a major new feature addition to the bike and tread users who also have an Apple Watch. The feature had slowly been rolling out to Peloton users, and the company is confirming in a blog that it is going to happen. The Peloton plus Apple Watch heart rate integration. And the article here goes through some of the tips here. So this is probably a smart move on Peloton's part, since they have been a bit of a struggle as of late with the new management, and their stock has tanked, and they've not had too much success as of late with everything going on. Kelly, what do you think?
Don't forget us. We're still pretty.
Yeah. That's about it. What do you guys think? Andrew, what do you think? This is something not surprising, I think.
I mean, I've never used a Peloton, so I don't really know off the top of my head at least what features they've been having
all the time.
No,
it seems weird to me that something like this wasn't already included.
Yeah.
I think they want you to use their own, or they made a deal with someone else for the heart rate monitor. I don't recall what the deal was, but I know a lot of people wanted to use the your Apple Watch for the heart rate monitor, and there wasn't any sort of option to do so.
Okay,
that's the only part I know. But
I don't think GymKit really even took off too, right? That's the other part of this is I've been to I go to like 5 different gyms a day, and I've never seen a GymKit enabled place. I haven't been to a gym in years, but I don't hear much about it. You don't hear much about GymKit. So,
well, they announced it right about the time the world came apart, and so I'm not entirely convinced it was a feasibility issue really at that point. I mean, even after we got the announcement of CarPlay, which is another thing that is tied to a reasonably expensive piece of equipment that doesn't get upgraded every 12 months.
That's what I was going to say. For the GymKit, they would have had to replace all their, you have to replace everything to talk to GymKit.
Yeah.
So,
and those devices have to be available at scale if you're going to replace them throughout all your gym locations, or, even all of them in one gym, like getting your hands on 40 treadmills or elliptical machines or whatever, even in the best of times, is probably not the easiest task. So I think it's probably a little bit of both, aside from the fact that not many of them physically probably exist in the world at this point, thanks to the magic of supply chain deficiency. It's also possible that they're just not out there.
But are if somebody goes out and buys 10 new treadmills, is it the kind of thing where it's it has a AirPlay? Is it kind of like a thing where it's going to be compatible with GymKit? What am I thinking? Like AirPrint, like if you buy a printer now, it has AirPrint. So, I mean, again, if the local gym goes out now and orders them, are they GymKit compatible?
There are options available. I looked into it recently because somebody I knew was interested, and what little I knew about treadmills and ellipticals and things like that, and then adding GymKit to it, it wasn't dramatically more expensive. There weren't as many options, but it wasn't like you were paying $200 more to get one that had GymKit in it or anything.
Right. But it's something like if you're a gym owner, you have to decide, are you going to pay the extra? Is GymKit going to be a thing in 5 years? Am I wasting a little bit of money it costs?
Right. Yeah. And on that part, I don't really know, but I think the part that's interesting to me about this is that Peloton, it seems like anyway, as a spectator, the Peloton was sort of forced to open up after, they went gangbusters when nobody could go to the gym anymore. So everybody bought a Peloton so they could gym it up at home. And then, everybody who bought one, who was going to buy one, bought it. And then like all of their earnings went off a cliff. And, and then we had a couple of notable television shows where people hopped on Pelotons and had heart attacks. Yeah.
I know, but there was a happy ending at the end.
Only in one of them. And like all that kind of stuff, I sort of feel like Peloton feels a little backed into a corner. This feels very much like it's last call and I got to go home with somebody kind of a situation. Like but I'm glad it's happening. Like I'm glad they're sort of being forced to play nice. I remember Fitbit was kind of the same way for a long time. Like you can do all of your health tracking in their ecosystem or someplace else. And they finally loosened up on that. And a lot more people bought Fitbits as a result. So maybe they're just sort of trying to figure out how to continue to make money.
Google helped that one. But all right, let's move on here. The next story, Apple updates Apple Watch band and iPhone color cases for spring. There is brand new color options for the Apple Watch and the iPhone cases for the 13 and 13 Pro. And they're MagSafe. They're silicone, and they're going to be in the pretty colors like lemon zest, nectarine, blue fog, and eucalyptus colors. And they will price the same as the pre-existing MagSafe cases at $49. I've never been a huge fan of Apple's cases, honestly. Bought them for years.
Apple's going to run out of colors.
I know, there's going to be any colors left.
I mean, how many? It's a lot of colors. I looked at them. They're very pastel-y this year, right?
Well, it's spring. They're springy colors.
Yeah, they're always pastel-y.
They're always pastel-y, but yeah, I guess so.
They always look like Easter egg colors.
Yeah.
Andrew, we have to spend a bunch of time talking about new colors of Apple Watch band just so John Keats' eye starts switching a little. And he won't know why, and it'll be great.
Right.
Nothing beats old greeny. I love it.
Is that the leather link?
Yeah. It's the new one, the new leather link in forest green.
It's so good. That's what mine is.
And
it's so good. It
matches my green.
Because we know Warren has a whole catalog.
So forest green.
Does it actually match though? Like, are they the same color?
You can't tell, but absolutely. They are the same forest green. That's why I got it.
That's the first time I've ever seen Apple put green on two different things and have them be the same color.
It's exactly the same. And it's gorgeous. And when we talk about the green iPhone that just came out, I'm kind of rant because green's my thing. But we'll talk about it.
All right. Oh yeah, you're just talking about Apple Watch bands. They are going to have a whole new set of bands for the Solo Loop, the Sports Loop for $49, and the braided Solo Loop, which is my favorite, for $99. In the Sport Loop, they'll offer the same colors as the case: the lemon zest, nectarine, blue fog, and eucalyptus. And the braided Solo Loop will now come in flamingo, starlight, and bright green. And it's interesting to see. And they also mentioned that. They've revamped the dual colors, like the brand new lavender gray and light lilac, and nectarine and peony, and oat milk and lemon zest. So they're really mixing up some of the colors here now on the bands. So yeah.
Oh my God, if those names were any dumber, people would think they were in Portland.
The only good news for Kelly and Dave, at least, I'm not sure about you, Andrew, is we have no real desire to buy any of them because it's already too close to the next version of the iPhone, and we know these cases will not fit on those. So,
yeah,
I figured the watch obviously doesn't matter, but I thought about it, and I'm not buying any more accessories for an iPhone 13 at this point because
I seem to remember you had to sell a lot of cases when you got rid of all your 12 cases. So
I'm much better this time. I only still, I think
instead
I only
of 50, you have 2.
Well, then we went through the whole thing where Andrew did before the 13 was actually out. Andrew did the whole measurements of the cases. Remember from the 12 to 13.
You're welcome.
And then we had and then it was kind of debatable because some of them kind of did fit, and I tried it for a bit. but it was annoying enough not to do anymore, so I didn't do it. So
no, that was me going, Andrew, you should measure those and see if they fit because we need to know if they fit. Did you do the thing where we find out if they fit? And I basically just sort of pestered him into doing it. So
no, it was good, but maybe 1 year Apple will keep the same exact shape. And
as nice, like Apple's cases, like the silicone cases, especially, the cases are fine. Like they're not great. They're not my favorite. My go-to case for my phone has never been an Apple case. Not because they're expensive, but because
they wear out.
I just don't like them. Like the clear ones crack really bad across the bottom. Like all the ones I've seen have been cracked across the bottom. You get it the day your phone comes out and it's garbage by Christmas.
Yep. But all clear ones are pretty crap. I've tried even more expensive ones too, and I've never come across everyone I have.
My spec one works
scratches at one point. Yeah, but look at the scratches, and it drives me nuts. It really does.
Nah, not that bad.
No, on the phone, on the case. Take the case out.
My Smartish case. My Smartish case is scratched. Yeah, and not cracked.
Yeah, I have the same one too.
Nice grippy.
But it doesn't crack. I'm just saying it scratches. You get scratches and it doesn't look right. And then after a while, it doesn't feel good anymore. It feels too hard. I like the look of the clear. I don't like the feel of the clear. And,
so far, my Smartish case and my Spigen case have both been great as far as clear cases.
Spigen,
day to day.
They make good stuff.
Yeah. So I've used both of those, and like there are leather cases from Nomad that I've used that are solid.
I got my son the same one, the leather Nomad, and he loves it. So I was just going to say real fast is the Apple leather cases I really like, but they really do end up looking like crap after a while. I mean, they don't hold up as well. And I've gone through trying to clean it with leather soap and blah blah blah, things like that. And
so you're that person who buys like the really spendy Air Jordans, right? And then you can't ever wear them because the minute you put the white Jordans on, like you go outside and they're garbage, right?
I don't care about sneakers. It's just the cases. My Apple stuff, and you guys know I like to keep it looking good. Screen protect and all that. But yeah, the leather wears worse than I've seen on other cases on the Apple cases.
Again, the Nomad leather, I think the wear on it is very cool. I think it looks great when it's worn. It looks worn, but it looks nifty. So, Andrew's phone is a nudist, so he's not going to weigh in on the case.
He doesn't wear case. He doesn't wear cases.
Is it really?
He doesn't have a case on his phone.
His phone's a streaker. Yeah.
I think scratches and dents gives your phone character. It makes it unique.
Yeah, the character of $400 less on trade. That's the character I got. Yeah.
This next story. This is actually. I thought this. I hadn't talked about this too often. This is a kind of an enterprise or business story that relates to Jamf. Jamf has announced that they're going to be bringing in a bring your own device offering for the management. If anybody's not aware of what Jamf is, it's a enterprise management tool. Jamf Pro is used for a lot of businesses to manage not only iOS and iPad OS, it also manages Macs. The press release was come out from Jamf from the CEO Gene Hager saying that. Because organizations are now revisiting BYOD, bring your own device, and looking to strike the right balance between organizational security and needs for end user privacy, they're looking to get this out to the companies out there to protect them from using their iPhones, which we all use for our personal. For those of us who work in the enterprise, that some are using Microsoft. Well, now Jamf's offering it. I think they're really kind of looking to compete with Microsoft in that sense. But IT management's important, and I think this is a smart move on Jamf's part to look at this. And I know, Kelly, you'd have some opinions on this since you and I both work in the enterprise. So,
yeah. I think this is really interesting, and the thing that I like about it is that they're trying to strike the balance between people who use their personal phone for work things and and having like the right amount of managing that device. So obviously, like, you can't put a ton of restrictions on it if it's somebody's personal device. You can't one of the things that they're helping do is sort of silo that corporate data versus the stuff that's your own. Like, if somebody hacks into your phone and gets your Angry Birds high score, that's a very different thing from getting like email you have from the CEO about a project that nobody's supposed to know about yet. And so like the differences between those, making the enrollment easy, making all of it easy to manage. I feel like not having seen it yet and gotten an opportunity to lay hands on it. I can't say for certain. There will probably be some rough edges to it once they do this, but when Jamf rolls stuff out at scale, like to everybody, it's usually pretty fully formed at that point because they do a lot of beta testing ahead of time and make sure that they've got a good experience for everybody. The people who have to manage all of those devices and the people who are using the devices that are managed. So they're definitely taking a shot at trying to make this a reality as reality has been BYOD for these many years. And it's always been kind of weird email, weird email hoops to jump through and weird authentication for things and trying to streamline all of that and just make it easier seems like a really good option. So I'm excited about it because it's just going to be another way to make it easier for people to keep their data safe. And absolutely. I bang that drum on the regular anyway. So it's always nice to make sure that those are things that are happening. Yep. So
good stuff. Be real brief on that story. I don't know if you guys, Andrew, did you have any opinions on that, or Warren?
I thought it was interesting. Like Jamf is known as not only a device management company, but an Apple device management company. Right. So to me, like if they want to spread beyond that, I'm trying to think like maybe they feel like the enterprise Apple market has reached saturation and maybe they just want to compete with other companies like Kelly was saying. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Anything that will help people stop using Intune, yes. I'm here to tell you, yes. Like the alcoholism rate among administrators will drop precipitously. Yeah. If that becomes an option. I say that from experience.
I'm managing it too. We have headaches every day. So
it's not good. I think it's great. I think this is still, I don't think they're expanding supported operating system, but the nice thing about Jamf is that they have a really good relationship with Apple and they're really gonna, they're always really good at making sure whatever things are kind of coming down the pike or things that are supported, things that are working really well. Like they really want to make sure everybody has a very Apple-y experience right. with even with their managed Apple gear. So yeah, this will be great.
All right. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and move on. This was exciting, and I was in Apple Store the other day. They're not, the in-person sessions at Apple stores are returning. They've already returned as we record this, March 7th, and they've started to already with some really cool things. One of them was you could actually remix Lady Gaga's "Free Woman" song and learn how to use GarageBand, which they've always had. They've had classes before using GarageBand, and then of course they got all the basic stuff they've had in the past, like
I'm trying to
beginning use of our iPhone and the Mac and your iPad and yeah, it's great to see because obviously the pandemic had really put this on the shelf for all those 2 years already here. So, but it's good to see if you go to the Apple Store on the app on iOS or iPadOS, you can go in and look at Today at Apple, and there you're going to see some of the great sessions that they're going to be offering. They're already offering, I should say, and they're filling up too. And then it looks like they are doing some virtual ones as well. So, what do you?
Are you three? I'll be real fast, but are you three like me, where when you go into Apple and you see the sessions, you go over, you look at it for a little bit, you watch, them watching the class and everything. I know more than that guy. We all do it, right? All four of us do that, right?
I don't know if I do that. I'm more polite than that.
You do. We all do.
I've sat through classes where I could have easily done a better job than they did, but what do you think, Kelly?
Well, now I'm offended that Warren stood in the back of the Apple Store when I was leading it to the application one time. I thought he knew more than I did. So,
no, I remember that when I said, "No, I could do that. That's crazy." Whatever she's trying to.
Look at her over there teaching kids a code. Sure. I think it's cool. I don't know what the policy looks like, as far as like, people being comfortable going back and sitting in a store with a bunch of other people for an hour or whatever. That I think that piece of it is going to be a hurdle, but I like that it's an option. But I do like that they're keeping the virtual piece of it, because there are probably a lot of people who wouldn't have an opportunity otherwise. Like WWDC, having the online component makes it a lot easier for some people to get that knowledge that wouldn't be able to otherwise. So I hope it continues to be sort of hybrid and works out.
I could tell you, I was in the Apple store this past Saturday, and doesn't seem like anybody's too bashful to be in there, because they had the stools back out there. People were sitting, learning their products, and I felt like
I love it.
I was sitting in the store. I felt like pandemic. What?
Before even obviously the pandemic aside, I always thought it was cool that Apple does that.
Me too,
especially for free. And you kind of walk in and you see a lot of senior citizens obviously doing it, because that's mostly who's going to be there at 3:00 on a Thursday, because they don't really work. But it's nice. It's nice to see it.
Absolutely. Did you have anything else to add, Andrew?
I think it's great. Like Kelly said, I think them keeping the virtual part of it is great. What I was just wondering is, are they also going to keep things like the curbside delivery is still going, or if that was ending too?
Mm-mm. No,
I did that once.
I think I've been at the stores and they still had it in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, I think that's good. Like all around, it sounds like a good hybrid mixture.
Yeah, I think. Well, they're doing it just like any other company is doing hybrid. I mean, that's what...
When I picked up my 13 with curbside delivery, it was actually pretty exciting. Some guy came out. I was outside the mall in my car, and some guy came out running with my iPhone, and then went back in. It was kind of like the best, probably one of the best store experiences.
They're exciting. So
it was like a drive-in theater, or a dine. They can just perfect entertainment. It was great.
All right, last.
You mean he didn't come out on roller skates like a car hop at a?
I felt like
a Sonic.
I felt like, maybe if I just kept sitting here, they'll bring me more stuff. But
if I wait, what else comes out of the
what else?
All right, last story here before we get on to the event for this week. Sony's offering a 3-month Apple TV Plus trial for PS4 users. Sony today announced, actually, this is as we record this, so that today, PlayStation 4 owners who want to try out Apple TV Plus service can get an extended 3-month free trial on their console. Offer only applies to those who have not previously had a Apple TV Plus subscription. And anybody that's interested, you can download the app in the PS4 TV and video section. It's good to see, and obviously a lot of things are expanding. In fact, I forgot the article on here previous. Comcast has now added Apple TV Plus to X1. So if you have Comcast subscription, you're now going to be able to watch Apple TV Plus and not have to go outside the ecosystem of the Xfinity Comcast. So that was a kind of a big thing, being Comcast one of the largest cable TV providers in the United States.
That sounds like a threat. You'll never leave the X1 ecosystem.
Well, it's like double. You don't cut the cable, and you also have the it's like you're paying for it's
signed a Comcast subscriber.
Yeah. We could get on Verizon. There's a Netflix channel that we could do. That's through Verizon.
Yeah, they do it too. The Comcast.
That's kind of like this, right? That's kind of like them adding that thing for it. But yeah, this is the first. They go down to 1 month free trials for the last few months. Yeah. So this is the first time I've seen them go back to 3.
Well, could you get TV Plus on a PlayStation before?
No, but they
now. That's the thing I don't know.
They were giving.
Yeah, you could. They weren't offering the free trial.
Okay.
I think it's nice. I'm pretty sure I've written about some kind of offer like this extended to PS5 owners for them to do this also for a last generation PS. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put an article in the show notes. I put a link in the show notes for an article about the Comcast deal that actually was announced last October, but it's starting to roll out now in March of 2022. So.
Remember when Best Buy had the thing where all you had to do was walk in, and they gave you the 3-month trial.
Oh yeah.
You didn't have to do anything. You just walked in and said, "Give me 3 months of Apple TV." And
I haven't even thought of it. We're bundles, so
yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on here. Beta for this week, iOS 15.4 release candidate was announced shortly after the Apple event this week. Looks like the final version will be released next week, which everything falls in place, which makes sense since they did announce a new iPhone SE, which we'll talk about in a minute. I'm assuming, Warren, you've already downloaded it, and have you seen any differences? I don't think there's much.
Nope, nothing.
I think it's ready to go.
The only thing is it doesn't say when you do the update, it tells you it's the real version, so that's how you know it's the RC.
Yep, because I downloaded it on an iPad and an iPhone, and it did do that. So,
and then next week I'll play the game of whether
it'll be
the real build is the same as the RC, and maybe it's not, but it says it is, and everybody on the line says it is. So then I'm like, I still don't trust it, so I'll do the download the IPSW and just override it because I like that. But next week. No issues with any of the phone or the iPad or the watch.
Looks like it's solid. Kelly or Andrew, have you messed with this at all?
I haven't installed the betas, but earlier today, Jeff Butts was telling me a little bit about the macOS beta. And what I was excited about is he said that it sounds like in this next version, you'll be able to put a shortcut on the dock. And I think that's great because that was one of my initial complaints. Like, I can't do this. Like, these only live in the menu bar. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, macOS is the one that that is sort of taking up all of my mental bandwidth at the moment because there's a huge change coming in 12.3, which is breathing down my neck.
Universal control is one of them.
Yeah, but they're also ripping out the shipping version of Python, and it's and not even if you have it, we're not going to mess with it, but like it's going to evaporate when you install that update, and that, as an IT person, that scares me because people have been relying on that version of Python being there for so long that like you don't even know what you don't know is going to fall over. And that's the part that really worries me. And part of the reason it worries me is because Apple announced this like 2 years ago. And do you know who was caught by surprise by this? Microsoft, because OneDrive apparently relies on it, and Dropbox, which relies on it. Both of them went, what? And like, it's like, if you can make one of them lose their stuff on a macOS development feature, like I'm really, really worried about all the stuff that, you know, people like David and I sat down and built a little tool to do a thing that is now the tiny piece that like all the rest of the house of cards is resting on. And now this piece is going to go away. And like, how bad is that Jenga tower going to fall? And I'm very concerned. This is going to make up for the drop in alcoholism from people who don't have to use Intune anymore, because it's going to go back up as everybody finds out how much Python they rely on that doesn't live there anymore.
All right. So WatchOS 8.5 is on release candidate. You have tvOS, iPadOS 15.4, and HomePod has also got their release candidate. And not much as far as too much excitement until those get released next week. So I'm excited to hear about that. So and
I didn't really try to do the HomePod. Okay,
they're kind of this is kind of the big one, like for releases. Like we get the first one that's like, you know, .0, which is it's out, and then we get a couple of revisions for the sharp edges that become evident as the free world installs it. And we get a little bit of optimization for the less new devices that are running it. And then usually like the spring release, we get a nice sort of batch of like not really lesser updates, but a batch of smaller things that kind of all come out at the same time. Yep. I mean, it happens every year for all the operating systems. And this is that. Universal control out there for everybody, and having it work reliably and all of that is also going to be really cool once the world can get their hands on it. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's.
I still can't believe you guys don't have it. It's mind-boggling. But anyhow.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk about Apple's event. So this past Tuesday, as we record, Apple's event Peak Performance, and there was a lot of cool, exciting announcements, including a new iPhone SE, an iPad Air that's going to have an M1 processor. There was a new color for, I know Warren can't wait to talk about that, the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro. And they did announce Macs, but we aren't going to talk too much about Macs since we kind of focus on iOS here. So, but there were some excitements with the Macs. I'll casually mention the Mac Studio is pretty remarkable, amazing, very jealous. Want one really bad, but I'm not going to get it. And I think that's probably was the biggest talk, and of course the new display it was a lot of the talk.
Talk about the display. It kind of runs iOS.
I guess you could plug it in, but
I think it kind of. It's kind of because it actually does the processing for the center stage and Siri.
Yeah, that's true.
So it does something.
But
let's kind of have a chip in there.
Let's get into some of these topics. Apple did talk about its Apple TV Plus and a lot of new shows and such. They did sign a exclusivity deal with Major League Baseball, which actually, as we record this, now are not on strike anymore. The collective bargaining agreement was just ratified earlier today. Yay! So baseball,
my summer's saved.
Baseball is back, and they will be opening day April 7th.
I've watched one game.
April 7th, 2022.
I hate baseball.
So Apple did.
Why couldn't they get football? I'm just. This was a rant. Was that a rant when this came up and said?
Yeah.
All this talk about the getting the games and the rumors and everything like that. He comes out with a baseball. Tim Cook. I'm like,
look, it's
who
a start.
wants baseball? It's a bad start. Baseball's terrible, and it's only 2 games.
I think
out of it's only 2 games out of isn't there like a 10 jillion games a day of baseball? It's like football. There's there's 6. But
there's only 10 squillion games a day.
Well, I think really
so it's like a drop in a bucket of games is what I'm saying for.
But it's a start. I mean, when the iTunes store started, it didn't have every song. They had to start with the one record label that was willing to make the deal, and they're starting with this to be willing to make the deal. Now, whoever can make NFL magic, because it hasn't been Amazon Prime yet, but live sports is the reason lots of people still have cable.
Amazon Prime is doing exactly the same thing as this with baseball. Except they're doing one Thursday night game, and sometimes they have a special game too. So they have this has 2 in baseball. Amazon Prime has 1 in football.
Well, they were doing.
I'm not watching any Apple ones, so.
Well, they were doing. Amazon was doing a few of the football games at one point. I don't know if
Thursday night football
continued or not.
They do Thursday night every it was this year. I don't know what's going to happen next year, but
the other thing that was notable is that Apple TV Plus is $5 a month, and when they add baseball, it's still going to be $5 a month. And with everybody else raising their prices or adding another tier, oh, well, the price that you're paying now for no ads is going to be the some ad tier. And if you really want to keep not having commercials, you have to give us an extra $3 a month or whatever it is.
Oh, it's totally great. Yeah.
And so that was the thing that stood out to me was that you will get any live sports out of this for the exact same price you're paying now. And that price is way less than I think everybody else. If they had every NFL game, if they start doing that, I would pay a lot. How much would you pay for it? I paid extra $5, definitely a month, to see every NFL. Look
game.
at you, big spender! $10 a month to watch all the NFL.
Do you know how much it is otherwise?
No, DirecTV.
You ever watch price on DirecTV's package for it?
I do.
It's insane, and we bought one for my son as a gift for college because he was in Ireland, and that. I think it was over $200 for the season.
It's crazy.
I would easily pay Apple $5-10 a month.
So let's move away from this topic. Unless Andrew, if you had anything, you've been quiet about this.
It's getting us mad
because we got a lot to talk about here.
Andrew's like sports.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't watch.
Okay,
sports.
so then I'll go ahead.
He knows sports are a thing. I think that's about it, right?
I'll go ahead and move on here.
He's a man of my own heart. Yeah.
Couple other things of note that they did tease. iMovie is going to be coming out in April with some. It was kind of easy to overlook, but they did announce next month that it's going to be a free app, of course, iPhone, iPad. And all, it's going to have a thing called Magic Movie and Storyboards, which will allow you to create and edit stunning videos with just a few clicks. I think that's really what's attracted to people. More and more people wanted to use iMovie on an iPhone and iPad. It's just so easy to create a movie. I think I helped somebody at work when they were trying to create a movie, and I asked her, how'd you create this? Oh, I just did it on iMovie, and she did a great job. And it was just, it was a video for our kickoff meeting. So
but like this article says it was part of the event, and I don't remember seeing. I went back through and looked and didn't even really see anything about it.
It was a very quick mention.
I saw an iPad still, where somebody was holding up an iPad
in the corner of a slide or something.
It was very quick mention. It was like it's almost you blink, you missed it.
I kind of remember there was like 3 boxes. Like if you remember they showed it. They showed a version of.
I remember
the boxes of.
I remember seeing it, but I don't remember them saying like it's and it's new. Like there's new stuff coming to it, which is and not just hey look it's iMovie, which was must have been what I was perceiving, but. I'm jazzed about it because I'm glad to know somebody still cares about it. It's not sitting over in the corner, benevolently neglected like books. So
it's kind of, and they obviously did it because they're putting the better camera in the no errors. So
in everything.
Yes, I think they're like now that we got this great movie thing.
So
here have a better camera.
So then Apple did introduce, and I was surprised that they did this. They introduced new green finishes for the iPhone 13 lineup, which is only for the 13 and the 13 Pro. I know, Warren, you're disappointed it shouldn't have been on the Max too, but
it wasn't on the Max. It's on the Pro.
The Pro, but not the Pro Max.
Pro Max.
No.
What? I didn't even get that far.
Yeah,
but that's insane. Like, why? Like, what's the difference? You're putting all right.
The Pro,
it's just
the
weird.
Mini, and the 13 is the only.
Because there's no other color that does that in the lineup of Apple phones, right? Everyone, the smaller and bigger phone always had the same color options. The going back to the Plus.
Yep.
So
there didn't used to be. There didn't used to be 3. There was 2. There was the big one and the little one because there was always a Plus, and that was it. And now we have the number, and then we have the number Pro, and then we have the number Max.
Right, but there's no
there's
no other phone I can remember.
I think you're wrong. I stand corrected. No, they do have. It is the Pro too, the Pro Max.
Because that would be crazy nuts.
I just had to go make sure do my fact checking here. I didn't, and yes,
I'm still disappointed because, as we said before,
you want that green.
It's way too close to iPhone 14 season, so there's no way I'm gonna do that. And as I showed you before I had the green, I don't think I've ever really even. I don't think I could tell you the actual color of my phone. Seriously, no. I don't remember which one I got. I don't remember if I got the gray one or just.
I got the blue. One. So.
Yeah, I mean that's how much I care about it. Let's put it that way. The actual color of phone, but. I do like green.
All right. So there's an extra color. And like I said.
Anybody else? Andrew, Kelly, anything about green?
No?
Actually, I'm not just saying this. Green is actually my favorite color. But I think it looks great. But I've only ever really bought the white or black iPhones. Maybe that'll change in the future.
Mm-hmm. I generally have to. I thought about. That's not true. They had the green one. The 12 was green, wasn't the 11?
The 12 was green.
12 was green.
We had the green.
12 was green. The 13 was blue.
Right.
Their special color was blue on the 13, and so I had. That's right. I had the 12 in the same forest green, and I was so torn.
The
about getting the 13.
Came in a Boba Fett green.
Maybe
I did. I added.
Yeah. So if they had the green available,
it looked like Boba Fett. I mean,
but if I was ordering the phone and it was going to add another 2 weeks or week to get the color I wanted, I always went with Andrew color because it really doesn't matter to me.
All right.
I've almost got a pink device. Because it was the only one available at the time I wanted to get, knowing that I would put a case on it and I wouldn't see the pink. But I never did it. I came
the
close.
Rose gold, you mean?
I really want this iPhone 11 Pro Max, but it's only in pink.
It's not called pink, Warren. It's called Bros Gold.
No, no, it's not. It's rose gold. Actually, they changed the
no.
They changed the actual name of pink every year. Anyways, what is it? Just your seashell, bee shell, or something? Or whatever it is?
I know guys that bought it, and that's what they said. They were like, "No, you're just hearing them wrong. It's Bros Gold. So they're cool for dudes to carry them."
My son's favorite color is purple, and he always he gets the purple ones when it came out. He got a purple 13. So,
ain't a thing wrong with the Prince phone. Just saying.
I like the purple. The pink, I don't know if I could pull off the pink.
All right,
some men could pull.
Speaking of iPhone, let's move on here. Apple did announce a new iPhone SE, which was overdue. I mean, it was 2 years since the second generation iPhone SE. Of course, it's affordable, but they did raise the price on it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it does have it has the A15 Bionic chip, which is much faster. It's got battery life, because I know folks who've had the second gen SE the battery life isn't so great. It isn't improved with its durability. It does have a new camera system, and they've added the HDR4 photographic styles and deep fusion. So they really did improve upon a lot of things on this iPhone. The other thing they did add is 5G. And I don't know how excited you can get about 5G. One thing of note, it does not have the mmwave, the current fastest band in this iPhone, as it was noted in some of the tech information. So
how much could they have possibly saved by cutting that one little sliver out?
I don't know. It's
it's like, well, we could offer the phone at $449 without the mmwave, or $452 with it.
So
I mean, it just seems
seems to be kind of a bit of a challenge. With Verizon and AT&T were notable carriers that might have a struggle with the iPhone SE. May not be true 5G. Because of their bands. I didn't see anything mentioned at T-Mobile. So, but yeah,
But that still includes the good one now, right? Not the MM, but the one we're all getting now.
Yeah, the 13s have the mmwave band.
No, but we're not getting mmwave speed is the one that you get in Giant Stadium. That's the only place you're going to get that kind of speed, right?
It's got other
right now,
but there's
right now. But and then there was normal 5G that first came out, and now we're all getting, I forget what it said, enhanced or whatever, but it's fast, it's good.
Right.
So I'll find it in a second, but it basically it's gotten really, I mean, the last few months 5G has gotten a lot better, for me at least. And didn't we talk about it 2 weeks ago before we even knew the phone was coming out, whether 5G would be a big selling feature for somebody buying a low-end phone?
We had thought it might be, but I think this phone's going to be a hot seller no matter what.
I mean, it's not, I mean, for the $50, it's good to have it.
It went from $399 to $429 as the base price. They did add 256 gigabyte as an option, which you didn't have before. It was 64 and 128. Right. Now you get all three. Both are Touch ID. It does have the LTE Advanced, so you do have improved with the LTE. Not you're probably going to notice much with that, but the cameras are basically the same. There wasn't much change with that. It's
the 13 processor and the 13 camera with less lens, but the same neural net processing that the 13 camera has.
Yeah.
So I
mean,
8 outside, 13 inside is basically what it is.
This is aimed towards buttons. This is definitely aimed towards somebody who wants to get into the iPhone and not have to spend a ton of money. I can see a lot more Android converts will look at this iPhone because of its reasonable price, and they might just want something basic, and especially you got the low end button diehards. You got the low end of the folks that are buying those really low end Androids. They might want to maybe they'll have a little bit more budget to consider. I mean the carriers may entice more to come over to the new carrier and maybe give a deal. We don't know that yet, but when this iPhone comes out, so.
I think there's a whole lot of non-US customers for whom a $400 phone, whatever it's going to sell for in other parts of the world, is going to be really interesting. And I think there's still a lot of legitimate use case for something with a button on the front instead of having
Touch ID.
Right.
It's got a home button still and a Touch ID, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't Guy like, you're not taking away my Touch ID? He was one of the last, I think.
He has I think he has 13 now, but
he had just gotten to 13, but he kept going. He went to the first version and the second version of the SE. Yeah.
It also gives people an option on the lower size end, because you could get a 13 mini or a 12 mini, or you could get the SE, if you want the home button for it as well. So I think it's also just nice to have another option. I know it just turns Apple's list of SKUs into a complete disaster to continue to do something like this, but I'm glad that they're keeping the SE, and I'm glad it's sort of this alternate track that kind of exists outside the regular TikTok iPhone upgrade cycle. And I'm glad for it, because I think that there's absolutely a market for, there are people who probably, at some point I really see this becoming basically like Apple's iPod solution almost. Buy one, it's unlocked. You don't get it through a carrier. You get it directly from Apple, and at 256 gigabyte, it holds all your music.
Right.
And, they just don't sell you an iPod Touch anymore because you can get this instead. Like, I could totally see that.
Absolutely.
And lots of business situations where something doesn't necessarily have to be tied to somebody's Face ID. Like, we'll set up my finger on one button and David's finger on the other button, and now both of us can use it no matter what. And it's great,
right.
Whatever. There's still a lot of really valid use cases for it. So I'm glad they didn't get rid of it. And of course, it makes it less expensive every time they can revise that phone and still use all the R&D that went into Touch ID and just continue to coast on that. So I'm glad for it. And I'm glad that the SE is continuing to get attention.
Absolutely.
And evolve.
So I'm just real fast. I'm looking at Apple's website, and the SE starts at $429.
$429.
And then they're still selling the iPhone 12 mini, I'm assuming, from $599.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're talking. We're talking, is it worth $150 to?
Well, some people just want a smaller screen. This is another option for a smaller screen. That was
I'm curious of what. I don't know what I would pick, actually, to be honest with you, because the new one it's going to be faster at this point, right? The SE3 is much faster than the 12.
So, and then lastly, the announcements for these devices was the iPad Air. The iPad Air, I was kind of surprised that they actually came out and they put the M1 processor inside this Air, and that was probably a really good thing, because people were complaining. The iPad Pro is expensive. I mean, it's a full $200 more than what the Air but it's very similar to what a Pro has in a lot of cases. Really, the only thing that what they did to add to the Air was the 12 megapixel center stage camera. It does have 5G, and it's the same situation with 5G and the iPhone SE we just talked about with the different bands. So that I think is irrelevant in an iPad, but it's got some new colors. And it's got the same storage. It goes 64 gigs and 256, which I still think is crazy for an iPad at that level. But they're aiming this towards the middle market. It's not the low end market. Clearly, I think this is something that's going to be great. Now, I'd like to hear what your guys' opinions are as far as, do you go with the iPad Air or do you go with the iPad Pro? You got the 21 Pro. That's what I have currently, and then you have the Air. You have the Touch ID on this one as well. Of course, the Touch ID is on the power button, which is a really cool feature they've got on this, and they brought that over from last year's model. And you instead of Face ID, but compared to that, you got obviously a different display and that's and such. But is it worth that? What do you think, Kelly? Is you think this? Would you recommend this Air to folks who are just looking for something basic but not cheap?
I mean, it depends on a number of factors. Like right now we've got, two iPads at the party wearing the same outfit, and it's just awkward. Like I can't, if somebody were to ask me today, like, I just want something now, I don't need it to be exceptional, I would probably still in the Air. The Touch ID is nice on the button. I like that a lot. Honestly, I'm surprised it didn't come to all of them, to be, truly, like, it should just be on everything. It's M1. It comes in colors, which was like literally my single complaint about my iPad Pro was like, I can have a black one, and that's all. And that was sort of disappointing. But so I think like right now I would say to get the Air because it's got the latest, supporting kind of around it too. If you're a person who's like, I had my eye on a Pro, but now that Air looks pretty attractive. You may want to hold out and see what they do to the iPad Pro this fall. Maybe it gets an M1 Pro in it or something instead. And
what would you even do with that?
Well, that's a good question because that just leads nicely into my rant about how Apple, for a minute, looked like they were going to actually pay attention to the kind of horsepower they were handing people in one of these little devices and don't seem to be able to figure out what to do with iPad OS now that it exists in the world. So if they could really find a way to leverage some of that into, you've literally given me the same processor in a desktop computer that you are giving me in this tablet, but you've hobbled this thing with the operating system that you've strapped to it instead of freeing it to do all the things that we know that this processor is capable of. Then we can have a conversation. So really what I would tell you, if you're looking at one,
a whole rewrite though. At that point, you're looking at a whole rewrite.
It's not a rewrite. It's opening some gates in iOS. That's really all it is. And if we could get, so in June, I would tell you, if you've been looking at one and you haven't pulled the trigger yet, wait till June and find out what the new operating system gives you. Because if the new operating system doesn't give you anything, then save all that money. Buy the Air, and your biggest complaint is going to be that you can't see it over the pile of money you saved by not buying the Pro.
So let me ask a quick, and I thought about this too, but if you had your iPad Pro and it booted up pretty much to Mac OS, maybe with a little bit of a bigger icon so you could kind of do what you need to do, is that what you're looking to get to?
No.
So what's the difference?
We keep getting little tiny pieces of verging on file management, verging on being able to have a couple of apps open at the same time, verging on being able to do something in conjunction with a couple of different things. And like the machine can take it now. All of the things that were like locked down and not developed and prevented from happening because your phone or your tablet didn't have the horsepower to do what your computer could do. It's literally the same processor in both of them now.
But the software, again, if your iPad booted up to Mac OS,
no.
So why wouldn't that do what you want to do?
Because Microsoft did that, and it's a fundamentally different interaction mechanism.
No, Apple hasn't done it.
That's not a thing. You can't do touch and input device simultaneously and have it work well. Ask anybody who hooks a mouse to their iPad. It's harder than it would be if you were just doing that on a Mac. And
I've bought
that's the same thing.
Right. And I agree. And I've bought many Windows tablets, and I've never not bought one that didn't have a keyboard attached to it. Because that just doesn't work. Right. But it does. I mean, but once you attach a keyboard to an iPad running Mac OS, it works.
Well, yeah, you have a MacBook Air. Congratulations. That's a different mechanism. So I don't want Apple to half-ass either one of them. I want them to whole-ass Mac OS and then whole-ass iPad OS and have both of them be a good experience in their own way. I very rarely hook a keyboard to mine.
Yeah. Right. And Apple's doing this purpose. Sure, there because they want people, because they could easily come up with a Surface type of MacBook at this point.
Yeah, and it would suck rocks. I don't want that at all.
They could do that. That's what Microsoft did, and they did it wrong. And they also would have cannibalized an entire market that they didn't have. They didn't have a tablet market. They had a computer market. Apple has the tablet market. So Apple says, you know what? If we make our iPads almost as good as these computers, now we got two things that kind of did the same thing. What do we do with it?
That's not what I want.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying. I want the touch interface, the glass keyboard, I put my hands on it and move things around with my hands and do everything that way, or with my pencil maybe. I want that interaction mechanism, but I want to be able to achieve easily the kind of activity that I can get on my MacBook and not have it be 19 steps. Andrew probably totally feels this because I know Andrew was iPad first for a long time, and some stuff is just easier. And I don't want Apple to go make a Surface. And I mean, Apple could do a lot of things. I'll give you that. Like Apple could bring back the iPod sock and just make them iPhone sized, and the iPod Hi-Fi could be a thing again. Like whatever.
No, but I think we all want what you guys want. We definitely want. I think Apple's issue with conundrum is the fact that they haven't done it for so long is because they can't do it without some kind of matrix of an end game. They have to have an end game. And what's their end game?
Well, at this point, it really feels like users are dragging Apple forward on evolution on iPad OS. I mean, look at what somebody like Federico Viticci can do with his iPad that most mere mortals cannot, for example. Mm-hmm. And the only reason it works for him is brute force, basically. Like a lot of people have to go to extraordinary lengths in order to get to do the kind of stuff that's really basic on a Mac. And I don't think that should be the case anymore. And Apple can't use the lightweight computer. It's not an actual machine because you're giving me the same hardware and the same display. Just let it do what it can do. Right. And, like now that they're really excited about strapping two M1s together, to give us the Big Mac, like I really want to, I really want to get that for my iPad.
I think the four of us can't. I mean, I've tried to switch solely to an iPad and not use a Mac, and I couldn't do it. I tried. Yeah. Just for what I do.
Let's. I want to get Andrew in here because he hasn't been able to jump in here as far as his opinion on the iPad Air. Before we wrap this up, because we're getting a little tight on time here.
He's making popcorn.
Yeah, what was your thoughts on the Air? And what?
I think this is a great.
No, it was a good debate. But I want to.
This is not a new debate. This has been going on. Can you use the iPad as well computers?
Oh no! For years
since 2007.
What's your thoughts on this Air, Andrew?
Yeah, going back, I was going to talk about the Air again. I think it's a great update, especially what we were talking about before, which is this is an M1 in a cheaper device. And kind of what Kelly was alluding to before, it makes me wonder, will we see this M1 Pro chip in the next Pro? And kind of, if they still want that to be the more expensive device, what else can they pack in that thing? And I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good way to segue off of this. But I'll give you one last opinions here, Kelly, before we move on here on the Air. I think it's a buy. I think it's something that I would highly recommend. What about you?
Yeah, and unless there's something specific in a Pro,
then I just don't see it anymore.
Say absolutely get the Air.
I would suggest even
get the Air and buy a nice case if you've got if that was your budget.
If you get I'm looking at good prices on the last year's Air at this point because that was a great machine too, and I don't need half the power, and I don't need the 5G.
Might be able to find them out there, and you'll still be able to find them out there.
As you know, I traded in my Pro for a Mini, and now that we have universal control, finally, I'm a little itchy to get something bigger. So.
We know you, so.
Anybody want to buy a Mini?
Yeah. Always has something for sale. Kelly's thinking about it. All right, I have one user question that came in here before we wrap things up, and is listener Bill. He reached out and asked, "Why did Apple Pay stop working on my Apple Watch?" And interestingly enough, he did reach out to Apple support and spend a lot of time with them on it, which I didn't think this should be so. This should be just an easy fix. And they told him to bring it into the Apple Store for service. I thought, really, that's a crazy thing here. So the simple fix here is just to unpair the watch from your iPhone and restore it. And I didn't understand why it's somebody from Apple. I think it was a rookie because they're getting somebody trained here. But I've experienced this before where I've had my Apple Watch. I don't know if you guys have, where I would go to use Apple Pay and it just would not work. It would not. You put your watch on there and the card just would not register. So the only way to fix it.
But then you still stand there for about 10 minutes like.
Or sometimes it automatically errors out. The terminal says, I don't like it, and just doesn't work. And that's what happened to me. So
then you got to go into your wallet like a caveman.
That's right. So this was a good tip by him and telling me, and I responded back and gave him that suggestion, and that did fix the problem. So, which I'm not surprised. And I put a link in the show notes here to the actual support article on how to unpair and erase your Apple Watch. Don't be scared. It's not going to hurt because if you go to erase it, it's backed up and you can easily restore it from your iCloud backup, assuming you got iCloud.
And if the guy from Apple who didn't help is listening to the show. His name is David
Stop it.
Ginsburg, and you can reach him at.
We
lost Andrew.
I don't know what
we
happened.
lost him here. So you are funny. So, but
I just want to tack onto that.
Please.
Unpair and Repair can fix a great many things.
Yes.
The only time I ever had trouble with Apple Pay, it turned out it was because the credit card had been breached, and I tried it in the short window of time between the time they like killed the card and were able to notify me that it had been killed. And so like I tried it and I was like, well, that's weird, it doesn't work. And then like when I got home was like, hi, you got a new card. So the one that you have in your phone doesn't work anymore. And I was like, oh, that's probably why. But I have fixed a number of other issues like with my watch or a couple of weird things that happened with my phone that as a result, I unpaired my watch and paired it back and it was fine again. So it's very much the, if you tried turning it off and on again sort of solution for Apple Watch at this point. Cause it's not like we have a lot of log files to look at or anything if you're trying to really dig into something, but
and what's the hardest part about all this is when we restore our phones and our watches. No, the hard part is when you have to remember the security codes on your cards because they ask you every single time when I restore something, it's like, all right, do you want to add American Express? Yeah. What's the digits on the back of the card?
4-digit code.
I don't know. I have my phone on me for this reason. My wallet's over there. I don't know.
You should have it in one password.
Let me scoop it out of one password.
I do. You go there.
That's all I do.
And then it cancels out of what you were doing, trying to add the card. And you have to go back. And wait.
Get it ahead of time.
And when you're restoring your phone, one password's not there yet. That's my problem. Right there, lady.
Right. Well, you use too much beta. All right. Let's go ahead.
That has nothing to do with beta. It's like I can't get to my password manager when my phone's in the middle of going through the initial setup.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up this week. This was a great show. I appreciate all of you being here, and we miss Andrew here. Hopefully he'll make it back for. Yep, there he is. He's come back here. So let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/DaveG65. And you can watch and listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the articles that we talk about during the show are flipped, and you are able to have links to find out about those, whatever is in our show notes. You also can subscribe to the show on your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. And Kelly, Guimont, thank you so much for being here. Let everybody how work they can find you.
Well, you can. Now I've got vapor lock because that's not how it starts anymore.
No, you've been doing it too much.
You can find me.
No.
Okay, let's try out the new one. You can find me over at the Incomparable Network, where I occasionally pop up as a panelist on other shows, like a recent game show episode that went completely off the rails before we ever hit record. You should absolutely check that out. You can find me on The After Show, which is a show that I do with Mike Rose. You can find me on my own show called I Want My MCU TV, which is the Incomparable Network. You can find me on Twitter as Verso, and you can find me occasionally interviewing people and shooting off my mouth because I can't not talk about Apple anymore over at The Slice, which you can find at theslice.tech.
All right. That's a great new site. Check it out. And Andrew Orr, you made it back. Thanks again for being here. I thought it'd be great. It was great to get the band back together here with you and Kelly. And go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Someone knocked on my door when my neighbors asked me to help them with their iPhone. So good timing, I guess.
You should have had them
call Apple support.
Opportunity. You should have had them come in on the camera, and you should have helped them right on
live support.
This would be In Touch with iOS on steroids next time.
I didn't think of that. That'd been awesome.
Okay.
But yeah, you can find me on Twitter. My username is @AndrewOrNot. I still am right now trying to tweet about Apple stuff as well as, technology in general, cool music I'm listening to, and yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad I had you here 2 weeks in a row. I really loved having you. Glad you came back to give us your insights on the event this week. And Warren Sklar, you are glad you're here, and where can people find you?
It's been kind of active over at the Mac to the Future Facebook group with the announcements and things like that. People are happy, I think. With the general feeling is people were pretty happy with the event, so that's a good thing.
You started yawning at first, if I remember correctly. So.
I did at first when I started, when the baseball came out, and it was 20 minutes of Apple shows that I probably needed to see a commercial for. Also, I'm working now, so I timed my lunch hour. To watch the event, so I had to make sure it was an hour. So Tim's 20 minutes in and talking about things I don't care about. I'm like, just not. Anyway,
concise.
So here, when I could do the Chuck show, I do that. As always, it was fun talking to these two. It's always fun.
All right.
As always, it's happened once before.
And Kelly, we're not arguing at all. This is just, I love debating with you, Ashley.
No, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, you're great. Yeah, debating with you is fun. What can I say?
Well, then you should join me more than once a year on In Touch with iOS.
All right.
I'll check my schedule. Speaking of which, next week I won't be on In Touch with iOS. We're going to New Orleans.
There you go.
New Orleans on Sunday with the kid.
All right. Well, we appreciate you listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. We had a lot of fun doing it, and we'll talk again soon.